welcome to my final presentation for LSC570. When I started this course, I said that I didn't see myself as a leader, and that I've always considered it to be egotistical of myself if I ever tried to make that claim. By completing things like the Martin Workbook, our self-reflection activities, and my journaling, I've been able to see how I could be a leader, or how others might see me as one. To be an effective leader, you have to first start by understanding yourself and your own leadership style and preferences. There are so many different leadership styles that can make effective leaders, and being honest with yourself in order to understand your own leadership style is incredibly important. High self-awareness and emotional intelligence are often better predictors of success than almost any other skills or traits. From this, you understand the areas that you could use more development in, and you can target your learning and skill building. On a positive side, you'll also understand the strengths you bring with you. You have to be willing to take a step back and understand the people you are working with first in order to build the trust you need to lead. There are many accounts of leaders jumping in and trying to push their own vision on a group without first having the trust necessary to bring others on board and make that vision happen together. In order to be innovative, you have to allow the space for your team to workshop together and try new ideas. It can't all come from you. As Linda Hill discusses, it is the job of a leader to create an environment where the collective genius can thrive. This can be difficult since shared leadership and effective teams are not the traditional leadership styles for libraries, but they're becoming more essential and an effective model. While most libraries are built on a hierarchical leadership model, many libraries have started to move towards a flatter structure in recent years. For a leader to develop an effective team, there needs to be a communal mentality that is often antithetical to the individualistic approach we're taught. Shared leadership requires a level of trust from everyone involved to be successful. When it is done well, each person can create a natural culture of innovation and personal growth. A sentence that immediately struck me when I read it, and has stayed with me, was unfortunately one tradition of schooling is that perfect performance is often exalted as an ideal. Errors are seen as failures, as signs that highest marks are not quite merited. I've always liked problem solving to help other people, but I can get hung up on changes at times and struggle with it when I'm on my own. I realize that when there's potential for failure, I feel like I need to do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen, or I'll perceive it as a personal failure and a reflection on my character, which often results in the need for over-preparedness when it comes to any leadership activity. Related to this is the realization that I think I'm probably an underestimator. From paying attention more and journaling, I noticed a pattern of people who are currently in leadership positions ask me if I was planning on applying to larger leadership roles as they come up, or if I was willing to take on more leadership roles. While Bratton, Dodd, and Brown found that there was a strong positive relationship between transformational leadership and underestimators, I don't think this is what they were talking about. The result of my personal opinions of myself more often result in me thinking that I'm not quite qualified or skilled enough for positions that others think I might be good for, thus limiting my own ability to progress. Finally, after our initial readings of this course, I had originally assumed I would have had a servant leadership style. I believe I have a strong empathetic approach to everyone I work with. I attempt to be an active listener and have an awareness to try and view situations holistically before making a decision. All of these are key aspects of certain leaders. After reflecting on this course and my experience, I believe that I've actually have a situational leadership style. Martin writes, in situational leadership, an effective leader is one who is able to change and adapt their approach to a follower's abilities and needs. That is closer to what I try to do. I try to understand each person and how they work within an organization to better understand how to help them. That doesn't mean that those characteristics of certain leadership can't be integrated into what helps me understand and helps others grow, though. Currently, my leadership roles tend to be quite administrative. Things such as co-chairing committees or designing and running training sessions for my peers. It has become quite top-down, which is not my preferred style. Often things like staff training, it's my supervisor suggesting something that needs to be done, and then I draft it and we finalize it together, and then I work to disseminate it, and we ensure that it's understood by staff who need it. In a less formal sense, I have found myself at times becoming the person that others come to when they have questions. Because of the fact that I have projects with direct connections to other branches, departments, as well as administration, people often assume that I'll have answers to their questions. I had a supervisor once tell me that you know you're doing a job well when other people are coming to you to solve their problems in addition to your own. If that's true, I'll take it as a compliment that others think of me as a problem solver. But it might be specific to this workplace, but there's a real tendency whenever people see problems not to be willing to bring them forward or simply not having the motivation to try and fix the problem. So anyone who's willing to do that ends up being granted some leadership responsibilities by default. When looking towards the future, I don't know what specific leadership roles I want to have, but Madsen's steps to form our mission and vision statements help me to see what kind of environment I want to be helping to create. I want to be working in an environment that continues to challenge me personally, and as a leader, I want to be helping others to grow by improving communication and team-based skills, developing an environment of trust where people feel the freedom to innovate and try new things, which harkens back to the work environments discussed by Linda Hill in her TED Talk. Going forward, my goals are currently moving towards working in a position where I feel I'm helping others to grow and thrive, moving towards helping to develop a group of people who feel challenged by individual projects but have a team-centered approach to problem-solving and decision-making, and making intentional efforts to hold more formal leadership positions that challenge me to push my own boundaries so I can continue to develop new skills. I want to create short-term and long-term plans to achieve these goals. In the short term, I'd like to talk with my supervisor about what I might be able to do now that could help me gain some of these skills. There are currently 2 ways that I'm thinking that could help me at my current job. 1, my boss has already asked me if I would be willing to co-chair overseeing a committee that's reviewing a grant application process, and while I've agreed, I know it's a similar process to one I have helped with in the past, so I want to take a more active role in leading the review process since I know how busy she is. Another potential opportunity is that she has been looking for someone to take over as the lead on a committee I am part of. It's a job that I feel like I could do, but because there are several other people I'd be overseeing, I have always had some hesitancy. Similarly, I want to be more willing to keep saying yes to opportunities that come available as long as I have time that could challenge me to be more uncomfortable with uncertainty. Longer term, I want to do more research on the types of librarian positions that align most closely with my own values and vision so I can make plans on how to move towards those positions. The first steps you take in your career can be important to determine your trajectory going forward. So I want to make efforts to be intentional and thoughtful about the jobs and libraries I apply to after graduating. I believe all these goals are fairly practical, so my self-evaluation will be to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable for the things that I said I was going to do. I believe doing a monthly check-in on where the progress I've made has been and making new action steps will help me assess my achievements on these goals. In conclusion, this course has made it clear to me how much time and self-reflection is really necessary to understand your leadership style. Trevor Dawes talks about the value of having a leadership plan and says, there are no shortage of characteristics that we might look for in leaders. It would be imprudent to think that any leaders would or could have all of these qualities. However, as many leadership theorists will suggest, leadership should have the ability to adjust their style according to the situation. True leadership is not stagnant. Everyone has the ability to improve their leadership abilities if they're willing to put in meaningful effort at improving them. Thank you for joining me for my final presentation for LSC570.